A hot tip for the day. Welcome to Monday Motivation, where we power up your energy. We take a look at what is like some of our biggest energy drainers. My thought was it's easier to keep the customer than it is to go out and get a new one. It's easier to work with your energy than to try to go and find more energy, because we are all the energy that we have. It's just a matter of how we're spending it. It's like our bank account. So when we ground center and align, we pull it all back in, because how can the body center if you're not pulling in all your own energy? So here we are, 1 week out of spring. So excited. We have a beautiful day here in Vancouver, BC. And I thought we would take this time to look at what kind of energy pain and suffering causes us. Can you imagine? Now just close your eyes and think about, if there was no pain and suffering in your body or in your thought or in your psyche, even in your subconscious that you're not aware of, how much of your energy is going to that unknowingly? And the thing is that vibration from years gone by, or that downloading from 0 to 7, when we're in theta, does affect us all the time. Those 40 trillion cells. That's what I love working with, is those 40 trillion cells, and finding ways to really become more aware. And the easiest place to start is if you are presently aware of pain and suffering in the form of betrayal. Betrayal is a huge wound dating back to, if you want, the Adam and Eve time. I'm not a huge scholar in the biblical text, but I understand the betrayal theory behind that experience that's often talked about. So I was looking at, I was actually referred to, one of my clients showed me this great article on betrayal. And I thought, well, what a great thing to talk about when we're on our Monday motivation. So when you would talk about betrayal, I know that I have certainly experienced betrayal. And I really come from a divine feminine lineage where my mother experienced a significant amount of betrayal. And her mother experienced a horrific amount of betrayal. My mom's mom had postpartum depression when my mom was born, and I was a suicide. She felt suicidal back then in the 40s, and I guess whether it was the thoughts or her actions, she was put in an insane asylum. That's what they called them back then, and never ever got out. My mom was 7 months old, and my mom was an only child, of course, and was raised by her grandparents. And she had a tough life. She was, betrayed by her uncle with rape. And, even the betrayal of her grandparents passing and being all alone. Orphanage tried to take her house. It was just horrific. Some of the things that our parents and grandparents, that was my mom's experience. I can't even imagine my grandparents' experience. The betrayal that I can't even follow the lineage of my grandmothers because their names were all changed. There's just so many different things and levels of, my mom ended up having early onset dementia at 57. That was a part of my betrayal. I was so angry, and I was so angry that I was angry, and learning what that anger was. And betrayal is a form of grief. It's a huge form of grief. I felt betrayed going through my divorce with my husband. How dare you? How dare you? I felt so betrayed. But how different my life would have been had I not. I wasn't one that was expecting to have children. I had a really fast track life, VIP, for CIBC, and youngest bank manager in Canada, one of the youngest female bank managers in Canada at 26. I was like, my own history of betrayal with people in my relative base. And, I didn't want to bring children into this world. I was mortified. And the beauty of my connection with him is that I did. He he countered me, he challenged me. He said, children are divorced. So I bought in. I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Okay, I'm going to go back to school for 2 years, take a venture entrepreneurship program at BCIT, and then I'll have a dog and make sure I don't kill the dog. So make sure that I'm a better parent. All these processes that we go through to get over our betrayal. And I was a great mom. I am a great mom. And we do it the best that we can. And I'm sure that there's probably parts of my children's growing up there that are going to come back to say, my mom did this and I didn't feel supported, or, anyways. So when we talk about betrayal, I want you to look at things where there's grief. And grief can just simply be, a lot of it, part of my betrayal, I believe, is part of my fairy tale illusion that I wanted for my life. And when my husband and I ended up splitting up, I lost that illusion. And I could have hung on. And I could have kept on going in and doing the things and living a comfortably numb life. But I wanted more. I knew that there was more out there for me and my children, and not to just sit at home and wait. So, but it involved more struggles. It involved more contrast, not so much struggle. When we take a look at struggle or suffering as a contrast, then we can take a look of it as the gift that it offers us. At 4 years old, I took my uncle's hand, and it wasn't the best choice. I didn't even know and realize how plagued I was with my own indecision of making my own decisions, and being plagued with my trust process with humanity. When it happens in your family circle, your relative base, it has even a greater impact, because these people are there to support you. They're meant to be there for you, right? Not take advantage of this little girl that's so cute. It's like taking advantage. Our society is with these, child traffic rings and child labor. There's so many places, even now, that they're taking advantage, and the trust and is gone. Our governments, the trust is gone. The trust of walking down the street is gone. The trust of phoning an authority figure for help is gone, or is definitely maimed. So, but this is in the collective, so it doesn't necessarily even have to be something that you can recognize within yourself. It was really interesting, because when the Me Too movement came out, that's when I actually had the awakening of actually who the pedophile was that affected my upbringing. Like I'm talking 50 years later, a half a century. That's how powerful our body and our minds are in ways that can protect us. And so we can't think that we have all the answers to who we are as this consciousness, because everything is consciousness. And consciousness is no different than a cell phone. Cell phones have just come on the wave of consciousness. Our consciousness has a harmony and a disharmony. The cell phones have a permanent disharmony. I don't know that we'll ever be able to harmonize to those wave frequencies, and that's yet to be seen. Maybe perhaps our own cell phone, our own telepathic cell phone, is our harmonic waves. And that could be why there's a disharmony. It's like two waves in the ocean. One goes this way, one goes this way, and then all of a sudden they meet and they don't necessarily weave together in harmony. It's more like a riptide in between two pressures of water. And if you're in a riptide in a sailboat or any type of boat in BC that I've experienced anyways for myself, you don't move. And sometimes you move backwards. And sometimes backwards isn't a bad thing, because you can reassess how's the best way to MacGyver and get through, or just wait it out. So when we talk about betrayal, you can imagine now, even when I experience it and talk to you about my experience, I'm sure you can sense the energy, or you may be able to sense the energy. And as much as I have a smile on my face, my fingers are cold, my toes are cold, I know that I'm having a bit of a trigger for myself right now. I'm regulating underneath the table as I speak to you right now. I've got my cozy blanket, my favorite sweater that I'm going to put on right after I get off. So when you look at your betrayal, you look at the loss, right? There's a shock and the denial. when I found out things about things that I knew, whether it was my husband or my uncle, my life, my mother, taking her through the medical process, watching her pass because somebody accidentally broke her teeth at the care home and not knowing how to suck on a straw or chew anymore, and making a decision to put her on feeding tubes, or making a decision for her to pass over to the next series of life, where we come into life, we experience death, and I truly believe that there is life after death, but that's my peace place. It may not be yours, but if it works for you, you're welcome to use it. But to take a look at the grief process. So what does the grief process look like? Some people call it it's denial and shock and anger. And then going into that next level, the shock is like you've been punched in the gut sometimes, or you disbelieve that betrayal. Just looking at some of the notes in here, the shock, denials, anger. Second one, sadness. And the third one, acceptance. Sometimes parts of those might be short-lived, some of them might be longer, some of them might be quick to resolve, but the important part is to not deny any part of the experience, to go through all of that, to be in denial and be shocked. And there's tons of further pages here to explain each on the anger, the shock, the denial, the anger, the sadness, and the acceptance. I often look at it as Sarah as well in a lot of the work that I do with my clients: sad, angry, resentful, happy, apathy. And that can be another sort of series of experiences and feelings that we go through. Because what we do know is that our thoughts create our feelings, and our feelings give us a place to make choice. So when you make that choice, my mantra was, okay, I've been given more information. Now, what do I want to do with that information in a way that works for me? In a way that works for me. I had another betrayal that happened in my family, and I had, I had an option to press criminal charges. And I'm like, how does that serve that person? And how does that serve me? And can I live with that? And, if it's somebody's dharma, if it's somebody's outcome in their life, then it will come to them. It doesn't need to be me that brings it to them. And perhaps I may have done a disservice because that will take longer in that person's lifetime. But I also needed to be at peace with me. I guess it's part of my Bodhisattva studies. Everything that comes to you is a messenger. The contrast that happened to me at 4 allowed me to experience that because I was here to become a bigger player. I didn't come here to play the weakest opponent. Having an easy, cushy, non-sticky life wouldn't have served me for the work that I came here and committed to doing. So take a look and smile and find the bliss in the message, find the gift in the message. It's not always easy. That's what we do in the monthly membership. We work through the involution. The involution is a lot of part of your self-sabotage, that icky, sticky place, that trickster energy that pulls you back into that victim mode, that addiction mode, whatever it may be that you're addicted to. You could be addicted to grief. It could be your identity. And giving up the grief of your life that's happened to you in the past takes all that energy from the energy that you have for you today. And if you want this illusion of the future, this expectation, think of how much energy that takes away from you as you try to even possibly manipulate your life of the present moment to have that illusion of the future, to bring it back to your center. Simply by grounding and centering and aligning. And there's lots of opportunities to learn that on the work that I have for free, or even with me in person or distant. I'm happy to go through that. We always go through it. My clients, every single time, it's like, oh, not this again. But it's not. They're like, yeah, let's do this. So let's do this. Let's pull that energy back in and rein it in. Find out the truth of who you are. Step into that truth. You're not your past. You're not your future. You're not the things that happened to you. You are you, and everything else created you. You're unique. You matter. Thank you for being here with me today. Sorry to go over a little bit longer. Sorry, not sorry. I love you. My name is Deborah O'Neill. I'm the CEO and founder of BlissBee.me Integrative Holistic Health. I'm here to share because I love you and I care. And all I want you to do is live a life of bliss. Whether you do that with me in my groups or if you do that on your own, do it. Just do it because you matter. Make it a great